Let's turn our attention back to the United States. We had Super Tuesday this week, and Donald Trump now, he's unopposed as the Republican nominee. Let's bring in James Morrow, host of US Report, 1/3 of Outsiders. James, great to see you. No surprise, but it's done. Nikki Haley suspending her campaign.
Yeah, well, look, it's about time she did, because I think that it was really starting to look like a bit of a joke there. Donald Trump absolutely swept through it on Super Tuesday, and the only reason why Nikki Haley won that state in New England was because it was an open primary state, and so Democrats were changing their registrations across to vote Republican just to give her a bit of a lift. The extraordinary thing here, though, Kieran, is as you dive into the numbers of this, what you're seeing, polling analysts like Nate Silver have found that it is Biden voters who are now flipping their support to Trump. So they're not undecideds, right? So in the mass of an election, an undecided goes one way or the other. Well, that's a +1 for one candidate or the other. But a Biden voter who voted Biden in 2020 flipping to Trump, that increases the margin by 2 votes mathematically. So this is really where things are getting very interesting. The party's got to unite behind Trump. Now, whether or not Trump can keep going without some sort of self-imposed gaffe or, problem that winds up hurting that support, it's a long time to go. But right now, Trump is very much in it to win it.
Yeah, exactly. There is a long way to go. There are 2 things I wanted to ask you. One, you touched on the Biden group. There is, and others as well, that in these primaries, there's no one really credible against him. And still around 10% of those in some of the states were voting undecided. So that's a massive problem for Biden. The flip side of that is those Republicans, certainly Haley supporters, but others who just won't ever vote for Trump. So both sides have a cohort, a block that look like that is a structural problem for them ahead of November.
Yeah, and I mean, it's that Never Trumpers group that, of course, the Trump people are going to be worried about. Now, I think one of the things that they would say about that is that a lot of those Never Trumper voters are going to be in states that are more likely to go Democrat anyway. So, you're more likely to have a Never Trump Republican in, say, New York or California than you would in a Midwestern state like, in Illinois or something like that, that's going to be in place. So that's an important thing to think about, because it's always that electoral maths, the same way we here in Australia, Kieran, on election night, look at the seats and the numbers to get, over the line on a majority in Parliament. The best way for Australians to think about the Electoral College is it's like getting seats in Parliament. And that's what they're trying to do here, to get that majority to seat their government. And that's what they're doing. So the question is where those votes fall. Then there's the enthusiasm gap. And the thing is, Democrats, though, I think are much less enthusiastic about voting for Biden than Republicans are for voting for Trump.
Yeah, indeed. The issue for Biden has been one that we've seen 3/4 of Americans have got issues, I think, according to some surveys, with his capacity to remain in the job. It's not new. We had people raising issues about his age and capacity before he won the first time. Is there, we've discussed this scenario, is it getting any momentum around a possible last-minute Hail Mary at the Democratic convention?
Well, look, that's still out there very much as a live possibility, because one of the things people are talking about, too, is this great disconnect, between the Joe Biden you see on air and, at press conferences and at events, who does appear to be a man who is getting old, slowing down, has recall problems, let's put it politely, in those terms. It is not entirely, as mentally sharp as he might have been. And you can go back and watch his campaign speeches from 2016, and you can see there's a massive, massive gap in, his performances in those things. And yet his boosters at the White House and in the media keep saying, like some sort of Soviet Union type of thing, no, everything is fine. Behind closed doors, Joe Biden is the sharpest, most intelligent man you've ever seen. And he's, playing 7 games of chess all at once in the Oval Office. And nobody believes it.
No. And for obvious reasons, you and I were on air same day that he held that ridiculous, chaotic media appearance out of the White House, which was which was just such a bad look. They can continue with that message as much as they like, but it's going to be a message that sees the Democratic Party head for what looks like if you can't say certain at this point, but if you take the polls as they are today, Nate Silver among them, this is a big mountain to climb for Biden to become competitive again.
Well, yeah, and again, people are also going to be thinking, you know, I vote the guy in November. He's really going to go another 4 years? Really? You know, in this state? So, of course, they're thinking, am I actually voting for Kamala Harris, which is, again, a big drag, you know, on the Democrats. They need to renovate their ticket. They need to do it between now and the Democratic convention. Otherwise, they are toast.
Yeah, well, they're picking someone, probably one of a few Democrats that definitely won't be competitive. Surely others would be more competitive against Trump. James, great to see you. I'll be tuning in tomorrow night after State of the Union for the US report, 8 p.m. on Sky News. Thanks, James.
See you.
And don't forget to tune in to Joe Biden's State of the Union address, 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow, right here on Sky News. We'll have a full preview and analysis of that very important